Hello YouTube, Infinite Magicraid community, Gandalf here. We got an exciting week ahead of us with Double Legendary coming back. I know a few people were wondering where that was because normally it's every 4 months. We got Ronai in the banner. We got IMR Candle. All of them are poison tags on this banner. We got Veronica, which is not so great. I'm not going to show her there. We got Dakota, which is still very relevant in the poison lineup. And finally, we have Magdi, which is another really great poison hero. All of these heroes are, with the exception of Veronica, are seen in the poison lineup. So not a bad banner to start on if you're thinking about re-rolling for that particular week. So we could see, if you're new to the game and you feel like you learned the game and you want a fresh start, make sure you mark your calendars for this Friday or Thursday, wherever you are for that particular reset, and that will make it really good for you, and hopefully you get really good heroes that week. Now, what's also very exciting is the devs dropped in the notes that Mythic reworks are coming, something that I'm very excited to look forward to. So for all of your Mythic heroes, if you actually look at your exclusives, right now there's nothing on exclusive 4, but they're going to add something to exclusive 4, another special aspect to make all the Mythic heroes more relevant in the end game content. I can't emphasize how important that is for free-to-play players, because I feel like they've been kind of left further and further behind than the people who have been paying, because pets and limited heroes are just completely dominating the game. In the PvP meta, like, we're seeing less and less of Mythic heroes now, and having Mythic heroes coming back will make that a lot more relevant, which is great. I understand that as a game development company, profit is everything, but I think it's important to view what is short-term profit versus long-term, and I think having a very healthy game and player base is more important than the immediate short-term revenue that you can collect from a game. And with that, I do want to address the elephant in the room. I know a lot of prominent players, like some big names like Fleury has just recently quit the game last week, along with a lot of big players in Bushido. I know people wanted me to make a reaction video or whatever. That's not what I'm going to do here. I think I'd rather put a little bit more positive energy about what has the dev been doing, what they need to do a lot more of, and as a player base, how can we respond and react appropriately to all of this. So first of all, what I'll say is they have done a few things really well in the last 6 months. One of them being, when we think about rolling out new content, they have designed it in a way that it's more like one-time completion. So for example, here you progress, and then all you have to do is just claim rewards accordingly. They added the ultimate trial. Now it's just you can skip to get through that very quickly. Planar Rift is very milestone based, so it's not, yes, it's time gated in terms of when you can access it, but for the most part, just like also the Demon Conquest, I loved it. It was free to play friendly. Even if you're a brand new guild, you can participate. You will just kill the boss a little bit slower. As long as you just even do 1 damage or 0 damage, actually you get 50 points worth of progression as a guild. So that is all really great stuff, and it doesn't put a heavy load on us. They have changed the interface a little bit, so it's easier to see what is available and what's on hold, so you don't have to worry about forgetting about it. I think there's still maybe a very quick fix here on Broken Land, because honestly, Broken Land, I would love that interface to move somewhere else, because often we forget about it. I think when we go over here, like maybe, I don't know, Broken Land somewhere, I don't know, it might make this interface too cluttered, but it just feels kind of hidden in here a little bit, like at the very end there. So that's a really small fix. Like, they have done a lot of things right here. They added the echoes, right? They made it a little bit more free to play friendly. They added 4 decent echoes now into the general pool, so that you could get like Bizarre Flame, for example. That's a very generic mastery one that is really good for a lot of heroes. So all of these things are great, but and they're looking at the Mythic reworks, but that doesn't change the fact that the game has gotten a lot more expensive in the last 6 months. All right, and if we just think about purely Miracle Wishes, every 2 weeks you're getting a hero that changes the top end meta. So whether that be in PvP or PvE, it's almost feel like if you're already a top player that has everything kind of caught up in terms of content, in terms of what you have access to, if you don't get the latest hero, you're going to fall behind by quite a few ranks because other people are going to get it. In fact, any player who gets the latest hero will get ahead of some of these players, making them, feeling the FOMO effect quite a bit. I'll just show you what I mean by that is, if you look how, as soon as we change the Sunday event now to resonance damage base, anybody who has a Reinai is top in the ranking. Like Reinai was just top, right? Like it's almost like very few players without Reinai can compete, right? Like Reinai all of a sudden shows up top of the list, right? I had a real struggle doing sufficient damage, right? So for example, and that's something that was a little bit disappointing on my end, right? Then you look at, on the PvP front, right? Penny completely changed things up a little bit. But if you look at like here, probably championship, right? Like anybody who's running Arena, a Penny team, right? Whereas probably better to show my own teams there. Like your Penny teams, right? Your Penny teams are great. But in here, if you actually have Elise with Reinai, that completely makes this team a lot harder to kill, which will shake things up a little bit. I'll be expecting to see Reinai in the meta immediately into the 5. So making a little bit of a long-winded comment, but the cost of getting Miracle or the new release hero every 2 weeks is roughly anywhere between $500 to $800, depending on your luck with Miracle summons, right? And it adds up very quickly. On top of that, you have limited hero every 2 weeks and a brand new pet, right? This pet I mentioned in a recent video how impactful that is. And then just purely getting access to the latest content is going to cost like anywhere between $1,000 to $1,500 in a typical month. Now think about all the things you buy in other games, like, oh, a new game came out from an expansion perspective. Like this, and the thing here is every single month you're spending this much onto a game. Like just let that sink in a little bit. Yes, people have disposable income, but just let that sink in for a moment. That what you can do with that kind of money somewhere else, right? And by that, and it's wonderful. Okay, well, way to interrupt my video there. So we'll keep recording. I think what's notable here is I have been proudly part of multiple communities. We have the Bulls, Mythic, and One's Hope, and this is kind of feedback from all of the season players, is this level of spending is a little bit unsustainable, right? And yes, while it's possible with power creep and how things work, it is totally possible for the more seasoned players, for new players to catch up. Fleury, I think, was a great example where I think he was, yes, he's a massive spender, but a year into the game, he was able to join the Ultimate Division and get to #1 championship, not once but twice. And I think that shows a lot of hope to big spenders like Gerald, Aristotle, or is it Aristotle? Like there's a few big spenders out there. When they join the Ultimate Division, I think they're gonna really push for the top 4 spots for sure. And we do see their names, right? Like I know Aristotle or didn't show, but I guess one of them might be him. Like people call him the little Bailey there. Gerald is over here. 8 players so far has spent 2,000 a week. So it's not like these people don't exist, but and we're pretty consistent. I know we still got 2 days left, and usually we get around 13, 14 players that hit that mark. So I wouldn't be surprised if a few more last minute decide to get to that threshold there. But for most of the player base, who are getting tired is the other part is, as you progress through, you're gonna feel like it is a big jump every time you go to the next division. I explained that on my 108 series. I felt it when I went from Legendary to Ultimate Division on this account. But after being in Ultimate for a period of time, I solidify my spot in like the top 20 with this account. So, and as long as I kind of pace myself, I can get there. I can try to stay there, right? People will naturally leave the game, so that will reduce a little bit of pressure. But the thing here is, I obviously can't afford to get every single latest hero, so that's why sometimes for me it's hard for me to do content on every single hero. I can only do it in trials. I'm going to be able to, in the future, I'll make sure I talk about builds in those as well, so at least for people who do get it, there's something for you to reference to. But yeah, like that is I think the number one pressure. So the devs have been great with gathering feedback. This is the one part where hasn't been, the community managers can only do so much, right? It's the development team that ultimately makes some of these calls, and a lot of them are commercial and financial based. Like we talked about putting older limited heroes being more accessible, like on an extra banner, or having like a milestone, so that as you progress you can get a limited hero selection chest for the older heroes, right? Like there's so many ways to incorporate into the game, and I think growing the player base and sustaining the player base is more important, I think, in the immediate short term in terms of revenue. And I really hope the devs in 2025 make that a goal to rework more of the older content. It's really discouraging to go into a game where you have a big chunk of the content that seems not so rewarding or relevant, right? I know Brave Trials was definitely one they kind of put on the side. I think Broken Land is definitely something that needs a little bit of rethinking. Really, right now people are just blasting through in one day, and then just make sure they do the boss every day for extra echo stamp. Maybe put it somewhere a little bit easier to see. I don't know. Like, I think it's not the issue with the content. It's the power creep. Power creep makes older content less relevant or less enjoyable, or they're just quickly skippable. Maybe that's from a lens of a cracking account, but even on, I think it was really exciting. I think for the server 108 account, right? Like when our guild first cleared the hard on Broken Lands, that was a moment, right? It took 2-3 days, but that was very exciting. But ever since then, we kind of just clear it on the first day, and it just gets easier and easier from there, which is okay. But reworking some of the content, especially the hero base, right? So right now, if we look at our hero pool, I think I mentioned, because we introduced 7 Sages of Lili, every hero in the last 6 months, right? Lance and Marcus changed up bleed. Like they become now staple. If you don't have them, you're not landing in the top charts. You have to have a Willa to do, counter attack on poison. You kind of have to have a Mavila, otherwise you're not going to have the ally protection, right? Blaze has speed up for direct damage, which is huge, and having also attack up and resolute, right? Like there's just so much heroes that are that are added to the game to solve a specific problem, and if you don't have it, you're gonna fall behind, which is partly creating the pressure, right? But then you go back and look at my hero pool again. Look how many other heroes that we have, and I don't even have all of the heroes yet, right? Like all of these heroes that you see here now below, like they used to be so good, right? Like Jilliman used to be like great, like as a direct damage healer, completely overshadowed by Jingle Bell, right? Narch used to be Blee used to be like a defensive focus. Now it's all attack based with Moricus. Completely shake that up, right? Like Zora was actually really, really strong for a period of time, and then until Giselle came along and completely shook things up. Like there's just so many like Moshi was great upon release. Moshi's still great for early game content, right? Like, but like Milosh kind of just fall flat as well. And we look at some of the older heroes that never, like Igor never had a chance to shine ever. Like it's just such a shame. There's just so many heroes. Like Days of Melia and Hazanja. If you ever find a video 2 years ago at the beginning, like everyone's raves about Melia and Hazanja. Not saying that we can't have heroes. And here are the stuff we never built because they weren't even good upon release. They never had a moment, right? But yeah, like that. I'm not saying to rework every single hero, but when 80% of the hero pool now, like if it is not a hero that's been released in the last 6 months, it's kind of irrelevant. That almost makes me very discouraged to even work on my tier list anymore. I'm just going to tell players, hey, just look at when heroes were released. If it's not in the last 6 months, it's probably not relevant anymore. And that's a very sad thing to say, but it kind of feels that way when I go back and update my tier list. So please rework some of the older heroes and make that a priority in 2025. I think I said that twice or 3 times now in this video. So I want to close off by saying, it's not like, I don't think the game is in any, bad way or form. They have even worked on balancing our the playtime a little bit. I find there was one particular week where we literally had every PvP event on, and plus the Broken Lands and everything. That week I was just so burnt out on both accounts. I was like, I went around and started trying some other games out. And this is not the first time, right? Like some of you know that I play Honor of Kings on the side. There was a period of time where I went and played like all sorts of games. Like I think I had like quite a few excursions on the side, but I always came back to this game, not because I'm just a content creator. Is the community, the I think this is the first game I think where the devs actually, or the community managers, are so great to work with, and they really engage with the player base and trying to tweak the game based on player feedback. Like, yes, I tried Overmortal, I tried, like, there were puzzle games, there were action RPG, like I was playing Fairy Tail, this action RPG game, but all of them have the same bottom line issue, is after 1 week of excitement, you kind of hit a paywall, and then it's just paying to be competition from there. So that's why most of these games, like, yeah, it looked really great, really fun. That's why, these excursions sometimes last just a week, sometimes maybe 2-3 months, but then you, as a free to play, you quickly burn out. It's like if you invest into a game, you want to play, like, well, I think if you're completely free to play on all of these games, it makes switching a little bit less, you feel less of a sunk cost to it. But if you spent a lot on a game already, it makes it harder for you to leave, right? And I think, this game has a lot of potential. I think it just needs to be well managed in 2025, and we'll see many more years into the future with this. I do see that, guilds are having a little bit harder time filling up their rosters. This is every guild in the top, seeing, like in Glory Battle, they're not able to send in 6 full teams sometimes. The people who are able to send in the 6 teams are really active guilds. And it's really hard to recruit. Like if I were to go to another top guild and ask someone if they want to join us, most of them will say no, because they're used to playing with their friends, or they speak the same language, because a lot of time these guilds are language based. And that's totally cool and fine. And I would encourage, right, if you are starting out new, you might want to join some of the older guilds. I think there's more upsides than downside. The upside, you have access to, all of these, you have access to, Demon Conquest, you might be done already, so you can just go in there and collect the rewards. I don't know if that's possible. I wonder how that's going to work, honestly. If you join a guild or if the progression is tied to account or tied to the guild, if you haven't claimed any rewards, right? Like Wuthering Coast, you immediately get the team rewards, right? Guild Boss, it's all unlocked for you. The only downside is, yes, Broken Lands, Guild Arena, you have to fight harder opponents. Broken Land, your ranking in there will be, your ranking placement doesn't really matter, to be honest, for most players anyways. But like, if an older guild is willing to take you, I think, helping filling up some of the older guilds in the game actually is going to be helpful for all of the guilds. So I highly encourage you to reach out to some well-established guilds and see if you can join them and be part of a bigger community. Some of my closing remarks, I think, in one of my top videos, I talked about, having fair expectation, right? Play at your own pace. Don't have to be competitive. Many players, I think, are free to play. I think 90 to 95% of the player base is free to play or low spender. And just, if you want to be competitive, be competitive with each other. Enjoy the content at your own pace, right? Like, I think as a guild, our 108 guild was like every milestone as a team together felt like something. First time we beat hard on Broken Lands. It was just, something great. Yes, we were very competitive. Like, we treated Murasake Wu as like, this rival guild, and, finally beating them consecutively a few times, that felt really good. Like these are just, set goals as a team, be part of a community. And when it comes to, then how do we then deal with pets, limited heroes, and miracle wishes? And I think the strategy really is save up your miracles, right? Pick one hero you really like, and then get it on release, or save it just for the limited heroes as a free to play players, or save and skip a few limited hero until you can get a high exclusive on one. Just be disciplined enough in saving, and there will always be power creep, so you can enjoy being really strong for a couple of months and then fall back down a little bit. And that's just going to be the reality of things. But what's important is, at least all of these things are somewhat attainable just by purely saving and discipline around it. So I hope you find this video helpful, giving you my perspective and generally, I think it's a positive outlook for the game, especially with Mythic reworks coming. And hopefully, they listen to our round of feedback, and we'll see other type of reworks, and we get some of the older content a lot more relevant, and slow down with the release of new heroes. So yeah, and just because they release new heroes, we the wallet is in our own hands. It's up to us to be disciplined and be picky in terms of what we want to spend within our limitations, right? So with that, I hope you enjoy the day and wherever you're at, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Gandalf out.